Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know we love getting right to the heart of complex issues. Well, today we're diving into something really foundational. The principles that make a democracy actually work.
Yeah, and we've been poring over this really interesting analysis of a recent speech by a pretty high-ranking official. They were talking about the shifts happening in the global economy.
Right. And, at first glance, that might sound kind of, a bit dry, honestly.
You'd think so, but get this. The analysis actually pulls out these timeless principles for effective democratic governance that are just woven through the whole thing.
Timeless, okay.
Interesting. It's like, like a masterclass in how any government should operate, especially when things are changing so fast.
And we're not just talking about economics here, right?
No, not at all. It goes way deeper than that. We're talking about the core of how a government should relate to its people, the real foundation.
Okay, so in this deep dive, what we're going to do is pull out those core, actionable principles, the ones that are applicable to any democracy facing uncertainty.
Exactly. And we want to equip you, the listener, with a clear understanding of what truly makes democratic governance work, no matter what's thrown at it.
Awesome. Okay, let's get started. The first principle that this analysis really emphasizes is embracing, really embracing transparency and honesty.
And this is so huge, right? It's the bedrock. The analysis says a government's first duty, the absolute first thing, is to just acknowledge the reality of the situation.
Okay, acknowledge reality. Sounds simple enough.
It should be, but sometimes, it's not. It means being upfront about the changes, even the difficult ones. No sugarcoating, no downplaying.
Yeah, I can see how that could be tempting, trying to kind of smooth things over when they're rough.
For sure. But the analysis is clear. It just doesn't work. It's like trying to fix a leaky roof and pretending it's not raining.
Right. A leaky roof. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about being truthful, it's about building trust, too.
Absolutely, yeah. When a government is upfront, even about bad news, it shows respect for the people, for their intelligence. It's like saying, hey, we're all in this together. Let's face it head on.
So it's treating citizens like partners, right? Not just, people you have to manage or something.
Exactly. And there's a real psychological impact to that. When you're kept in the dark, you naturally start assuming the worst.
Yeah, your mind just goes to all these scary places.
Exactly. But transparency, it shines a light even on the tough stuff.
Yeah.
And that act of being open, it builds respect. And that's the foundation of trust.
Okay, so we've got honesty as the bedrock. The analysis then goes on to talk about how a government should actually interact with its people. And that brings us to the principle of representing with empathy and understanding.
Oh, this one's so crucial. The analysis argues that a government has to be a genuine voice for everyone, for all its citizens.
Okay, a voice for everyone. But how do you do that in practice?
It means truly understanding and acknowledging all those anxieties, all those concerns, all those hopes that people have.
So not just hearing the loudest voices or the ones that are easiest to hear.
Right. It's about getting a sense of the full picture, all the diverse experiences within the nation and committing to representing all of them.
It's about putting yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
Recognizing that these policy decisions are not just abstract ideas, they actually have a real impact on people's lives.
That's it. Real-world consequences for families, for individuals. When a government shows it gets that, it builds a stronger connection with the people.
Makes them feel seen and heard.
Yeah, they're not just a statistic. It creates this sense that the government isn't this distant, out-of-touch entity.
But that it's actually connected to what people are going through every day.
And that's so important for creating a feeling of, of shared destiny, of working together. Okay, so we've got honesty. We've got empathy. Now, the third principle takes us from understanding the problems to actually doing something about them.
Okay, so that's proactively plan and act.
Right, and the analysis makes it super clear. Simply knowing what's wrong is not enough. A responsible government has to come up with concrete solutions, actual strategies, and then act.
So it's about taking action, being decisive.
Decisive, exactly. But there's another part to this, something crucial for maintaining that trust we were talking about.
What's that?
Those plans, they need to be communicated clearly. People need to understand the direction things are going in.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like, not only tell us what the problems are, but tell us what you're going to do about it and how.
Exactly. That's how you reduce uncertainty, People feel more stable when they understand the plan.
It's like a roadmap, right? Okay, this is where we are, this is where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there.
That's a great way to put it. All right, the fourth principle shifts our focus to what should be driving all of these actions.
And that is prioritizing the national interest above all else.
Now, that might sound pretty obvious, right? But the analysis goes deeper, looks at the complexities of what that really means.
So what does it mean?
It means that every decision, every single action a government takes should be aimed at the well-being of the whole nation, all of its people.
Okay, so the good of everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. And that often means balancing different needs, considering not just the immediate effects of something, but the long-term consequences too.
So thinking about the future, about the impact on the next generation.
Absolutely. And it means being willing to make tough choices, even if they're not popular in the short term, if they serve the greater good down the line.
It's about thinking long-term, even when there's pressure to just focus on the now.
Right. And it also means being guided by facts, by expert advice, not just by politics.
So keeping that national interest at the forefront, no matter what. All right, the fifth principle, fostering unity and resilience, feels especially relevant these days.
It really does. The analysis points out that when things are changing, when there are challenges, uniting the nation becomes even more important.
Okay, uniting the nation. How do you even begin to do that?
It starts with emphasizing the things we have in common, shared values, common goals, the strength we have when we work together.
Reminding people that we're stronger together than we are apart.
Exactly. And fostering this sense of resilience, this idea that we can overcome obstacles, but we have to do it together.
So it's about finding that common ground, focusing on what unites us rather than what divides us.
That's it. And it's not something that just happens on its own. It takes effort, consistent effort, to bridge those divides.
Okay, so actively promoting understanding and connection between people, even when they disagree.
Yeah, creating opportunities for people to connect, to communicate, to work together towards those shared goals. Now, the sixth principle is all about something we all need, especially when things are uncertain.
That's inspiring hope and confidence.
Yeah.
But how do you do that when things are genuinely difficult?
That's the key, right? It's a balancing act. The analysis talks about acknowledging the challenges, being honest about them, but at the same time, reminding people of their strengths, their resilience.
So it's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about saying, look, we've got this. We've been through tough times before. We can get through this.
Exactly. It's about painting a realistic picture of the future, but one that still has that element of hope.
It's like, yes, there are hurdles, but we have what it takes to overcome them, and here's how we're going to do it.
You got it. Hope and confidence, they're powerful motivators. They can drive innovation. They can encourage people to invest in the future. Without them, it's easy to get stuck in pessimism and inaction.
So it's about creating that sense of possibility, even in the face of difficulty. All right, the seventh principle feels very much in tune with the times we live in.
It does, doesn't it? It's about remaining adaptable and forward-thinking. Because, let's face it, standing still is not an option anymore.
The world is changing so fast, you have to be ready to change with it.
The analysis makes that point very strongly. It says that governments need to be ready to adapt, to change course when needed. You can't just rely on what worked in the past.
So being flexible, being willing to learn and adjust.
Exactly. And it means investing in understanding the future, what's coming next, so you're not caught off guard.
Like looking ahead, anticipating what might be coming down the road.
That kind of forward-thinking approach is essential for long-term stability. All right, the eighth and final principle in this section really emphasizes connection.
It's engage and collaborate, and it makes the point that no one has all the answers, right? We need each other.
Precisely. The analysis highlights how important it is to have open dialogue, not just with citizens, but with everyone who has a stake in the nation's future.
Businesses, community groups, everyone.
And it goes beyond national borders, too. It talks about collaborating with other countries that share our values.
So working together to tackle those big, complex issues that no one country can solve on its own.
That's right. Whether it's climate change, global health threats, you name it, collaboration can lead to much better outcomes.
Okay, so we've got these 8 core principles. Now, the analysis goes on to offer some specific guidance on how to actually put these principles into action, specifically for creating national unity and a better future.
Yeah, and it starts with this idea of striving for a shared understanding.
Okay, a shared understanding of what?
Of the challenges, the opportunities, everything the nation is facing. And this circles back to that first principle open and honest communication.
Right, back to that foundation of honesty and transparency.
The analysis also stresses the importance of highlighting our collective strengths, what makes us unique, what resources we have, our shared values.
So reminding people of what we can achieve when we work together.
Exactly. And there's a strong emphasis on inclusivity, making sure everyone feels valued and supported.
Especially those who are most vulnerable.
Right, because a truly united nation is one where everyone feels like they belong. The guidance also talks about the importance of fostering trust and solidarity.
So not just between citizens, but between the people and their government. Again, it comes back to that foundation of trust.
It does. It all connects. And finally, it highlights the need to invest in the future.
Investing in what, specifically?
Education, healthcare, infrastructure, innovation, all the things that are essential for long-term well-being and resilience.
So thinking about not just today, but tomorrow as well.
And the last piece of guidance is about promoting dialogue and respect, even when there are different viewpoints.
Being able to have those tough conversations, but doing it in a way that's constructive.
Exactly. In a diverse society, that ability to listen to each other, to find common ground, it's essential. So we've unpacked all these principles, all this guidance, but let's take a step back. Why is this approach so important? Why does it matter so much?
Yeah, what's the big deal about all this honesty, empathy, unity, hope? The analysis actually addresses that head on.
It does, and it all boils down to respect. Respect for the people.
Okay, respect for the people. How does that play out?
Well, the analysis reminds us that in a democracy, power ultimately resides with the people.
The people are the ones in charge.
Exactly. And so the way a government operates, the way it communicates, it should reflect that. It should be based on that fundamental respect.
So it's not about the government being in control, it's about the government serving the people.
And when you operate from that place of respect, you naturally build trust.
People are more likely to trust a government that they feel respects them.
Absolutely. And when people trust their government, they're more likely to be engaged, more likely to participate.
But when you combine that transparency with a clear understanding of the challenges and the plans, you empower people.
You give them the information they need to make informed decisions, to hold their leaders accountable.
And when you have that open communication, you create a space for collaboration.
People feel like they're part of the solution, not just the problem.
And of course, transparency is key for accountability.
When people can see what their government is doing, they can make sure it's acting in their best interests.
And finally, by emphasizing unity and shared values, you strengthen the fabric of society.
You create a sense of national cohesion, which is essential for weathering any storm.
All right, so the analysis doesn't stop there. It actually gives us some real-life examples of these principles in action.
It does, although they're anonymized, of course. But that doesn't make them any less powerful.
So tell me about these examples.
Well, the first one talks about a leader who faced a major economic crisis. And instead of trying to downplay it, they were totally upfront about how bad things were.
Okay, so honesty right off the bat.
They explained the causes, the potential impact, and then they laid out a detailed plan for recovery.
A clear roadmap for getting back on track.
And because of that honesty and transparency, they were able to maintain public trust.
People were willing to stick with them because they felt like they were being told the truth.
Exactly. And that sense of unity, that shared purpose, it was crucial for getting through those tough times.
Okay, what about this second example?
This one's about a leader who faced a period of intense social division within their country.
A lot of conflict, a lot of anger.
And instead of taking sides, they focused on what united people, on those shared values.
Reminding people of what they had in common.
Exactly. They acknowledged the pain people were feeling, they emphasized respect and understanding, and they launched specific initiatives to bring people together.
So proactive steps to address the root causes of the division.
And the result was a de-escalation of tension, a sense of healing.
Okay, last example.
This one focuses on a government's response to a global health crisis.
Something that affects everyone, everywhere.
And their approach was constant, clear communication. They gave regular updates, explained the public health measures, acknowledged the sacrifices people were making.
So being upfront about the situation, the good and the bad.
And they were very clear about the plans for vaccines, for economic support.
So people knew what to expect, what was being done to help them.
That approach, that commitment to honesty and transparency, it fostered trust, it encouraged compliance with the health guidelines.
They made people feel like they were part of the solution.
Exactly. So these examples, even though we don't know the specifics, they really bring these principles to life, don't they?
They do. They show how powerful these ideas can be when they're put into practice. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the key takeaway for our listeners?
It's this. Effective democratic governance is all about respect for the people. It's about honesty, empathy, planning, unity, and hope.
And it's about putting those principles into action.
Exactly. It's about building trust, enabling people to participate, and creating a resilient, united nation.
So here's a final thought for you to consider as you go about your day. Look around you, look at your own community, your own nation. How are these principles being applied?
Are they being upheld? Are they being neglected?
Sure.
And what impact is that having on the well-being of your society?
Food for thought. Because at the end of the day, these principles, they're not just abstract ideas. They're the foundation of a healthy, functioning democracy.
And in a world that's becoming increasingly complex, that foundation has never been more important.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep asking those tough questions.
And keep searching for those answers.
This is DigitView.